Algebra 1, Section 1.5, scatter plots. A couple definitions to start, and that's actually down here. Well, basically a scatter plot is just exactly what it sounds like. It's a plot of points that can be scattered all over the graph. And you'd be given ordered pairs, and we'll do one example of this in just a moment. You'd be given ordered pairs, and you can plot them just x comma y, independent variable, kind of dependent variable, comma, just to build off the last lesson. And we can notice some things about them, right? So like you get a set of points, they're not necessarily going to make an exact line or fit an exact curve, but there can be something called a positive correlation, a negative correlation, and there can be something considered no correlation. So if we did a scatter plot and the points kind of did this kind of thing, that's a positive correlation. Clearly that it's trending upward. That would be a positive correlation. We can also have a negative correlation, which would look something like this, right? It's a scatter plot, so points are everywhere, but points can be anywhere. But generally speaking, it's trending down. That would be a negative correlation. If points are just all over the place, this would be considered no correlation, okay? And when it comes to this word, then it's called a trend line. If we have a positive correlation, we can draw a line that kind of represents that, which might look something like this on this one. And like this, I kind of missed on that. You kind of try to draw that line kind of right down the middle of where the points are. I could have done a better job on that, but this computer screen is a little rough to write on sometimes. I could have made this one a little bit higher if you see. Try to draw right down the middle. These are trend lines. That and that is a trend line. If it's no correlation, I mean, good luck trying to come up with a trend line that makes any sense. In Algebra 2, we will show you something called a line of best fit. Your calculator has the ability to make a calculation based on a set of ordered pairs and come up with the best trend line, and that's known as a line of best fit. For right now, we're just going to be drawing trend lines, though, okay? So that takes us back up to the top here, and we're actually going to do a scatter plot. I have this organized so that it's hours for students for hours on social media. That's what this says here too. And then their corresponding GPA. I just made this up. If this isn't accurate, don't hold me to this. If a student, if you spend a lot more or a lot less time, and all your friends spend so much time on social media, but I'm going to take a moment and plot some points. So 3.1. And I'm not taking for granted that everybody's an expert at this, so that's why I'm doing this manually and not pausing the video. So just bear with me, or maybe fast forward 30 seconds if you're already good to go. But I'm just plotting all these. And also I need to do well to not make a mistake. So 2.1. Did you notice that I went by halves on my scale, right? Half, 1, 1.5, 2. That's a consistent scale, and you should do the same. You should not... you certainly could go by ones or quarters or whatever, but you should not have an inconsistent scale. Have something that goes like half, 1, 2, 3, 4, something like that. It should be consistent right from the beginning, right from the origin. 2.5, 2.8 is like this. 3.5, 3.4 would be like this. 3.5. 3.5 would be like this. And then 5, 4.0. I threw that one in there just for fun. Okay. We're not going to do section 1.6, so let me just talk about that one right away. Maybe I should just take that off for this example, but let me just talk about this real quick. This is what's known as an outlier. Somebody who spends that much time on social media, it's the most on the chart, and gets a 4.0 GPA, that would be considered an outlier. In fact, I'm just going to take that off to not be confusing. Let's not plot that. Let's just pretend like I didn't even talk about that. I did want you to know the word outlier, though. Now, taking a look at the points that we just graphed, I think it's clearly trending down. I think you would probably know that just by the situation as well. This graph is clearly trending down. This would be a negative correlation, and it will be our job to draw a trend line. And so I'm going to do that now. I have a line drawing tool. I don't know how well it's going to work here. Your line does not have to touch any of the points, and in fact, I'm going to make sure that mine doesn't. This is the way this data seems to be trending for me. Okay? So that is my trend line. You might have one that's in a little bit of a different spot, but the point being is that it doesn't have to pass through any of the points. Now it can, but it doesn't need to. And down the road a little bit, we'll actually come back to scatter plots and trend lines and actually write the equations of those lines. That's chapter 6, if you're wondering how long it'll take to get to that. Sorry about the color there too. Got a black line and a red. There. All right, so anyway, that was scatter plots and trend lines. If we were doing this in class, I actually have an activity where I have a certain set of students give me their height and their shoe size, and then another set of students give me their shoe size and the number of animals that they have in the house. And it's a really clear way of seeing, with height and shoe size, is a really clear way of seeing that taller people tend to have bigger feet. Whereas when you do shoe size and the number of animals, that should be a no correlation situation, because the size of your feet has nothing to do with how many animals you have in the home. Okay, anyway, I hope you find this helpful. Thanks for tuning in.